In the latest chapters, Kanan-sama is easy as hell, unfolds with uproarious romantic mishaps and eccentric character antics. Join us as the chaos escalates, delving into a madcap world of misunderstandings and laughter. Kanan felt worried because she never expected to become so attached to Kyugi, with Ami observing from the sidelines. Ami questioned if it would be harder for Kanan to devour Kyugi's soul as her feelings deepened. Surprised by the mention of feelings, Kanan admitted she had forgotten about consuming his soul. Ami concluded that Kanan seemed foolish since entering the human realm. Regaining her composure, Kanan planned to take advantage of the situation, deciding to corner Kyugi and have him willingly offer his soul. In an attempt to make this happen, Kanan chose to go on a date with Kyugi. The next day, Ami, still in her maid's uniform, entered the school, sparking curiosity among students. Kanan and Ami approached Kyugi to convey a message. When Kanan tried to ask Kyugi out on a date, it proved challenging. After a while, Kanan loudly instructed Kyugi to go on a date with her over the weekend, warning him not to be late. She then hurriedly left, leaving Kyugi surprised. Amy praised Kanan for successfully asking Kyugi out. Over the weekend, Kanan and Kyugi had their date at the Sky Tower. Kyugi found it a bit scary being so high up for their first date. Kanan, however, was happy, anticipating that after the date, Kyugi would offer her his soul. Taking advantage of the tower's height, Kanan planned a true demonic date, thinking that humans mistake fear for romantic feelings. Kanan's plans were interrupted when Kyugi mentioned the amazing view from the tower, but expressed that seeing Kanan in casual clothes was even better. To heighten Kyugi's fear, Kanan suggested getting closer to the window. Each time Kanan tried to grab Kyugi's hand, he dodged her, seemingly avoiding the window and unintentionally thwarting her plan. Finally, Kanan managed to hold Kyugi's arm close to her chest. In this moment, Kanan realized that Kyugi had been avoiding her because she had forgotten to wear her undergarment. Surprisingly, Kanan admitted it was intentional to keep Kyugi's heart racing, even though she had genuinely forgotten. Kyugi then asked for his arm to be pressed to her chest again. Kanan went on the date without a bra in a bid to win Kyugi's heart over, but it seems he doesn't notice as he carries on as if it is a friendly date. Kyugi then proceeds to feed Kanan, and she finds it embarrassing. Before she eats from his hand, she claims that him feeding her is not as embarrassing as her not putting on a bra to their date. She then also tries to feed him, and this makes Kyugi gassed, as he is happy that Kanan is about to feed him. He is left disappointed when she eats the food at the very last second instead of feeding him. She then says to herself that teasing a lower life form is fun. Kyugi tells her that he is happy and glad that she is smiling now, as she has been looking down throughout the date. He adds that he loves the way she smiles. She then gets shy and starts to blush as she claims that she cannot look him in the eye. She says that it's like she likes that lower life form. Kyugi then asks her what she wants to do and adds that he will do anything to make her smile. Kanan is perplexed at the fact that he would do that even though she was trying to devour his soul. She then tells him that she will try to feed him one more time, which Kyugi mistakes for something else. Kanan is seen complaining about how her hearing ability has reduced. She says she used to be able to hear sounds about 100 meters away, but now she can't. Kyugi reassures her that even at that, she still has incredible hearing abilities. She tells him that it is due to her devil ears, but he says that they are, in other words, known as sharp ears. He then tells her that there is something she has to do. Kyugi then immediately puts Kanan on his lap and tells her that he is going to clean her ears. He then whips out an ear pick and tells her that he is confident about his ability in picking ears. Kanan tells herself that it is only a matter of time before Kyugi offers up his soul to her. She allows him to proceed with the ear cleaning, and she claims that it reminds her of when Mother used to clean her ears every time. As Kyugi touches Kanan's ear, she claims that it felt as if his pleasure centers were being stroked. She then says that it is different from her mother because it was Kyugi. She then remembers that her ears are hypersensitive, which means that any little sound caused by the ear pick in her ear will make a lot of sound. Just then, Kyugi places the ear pick in her ears, and she says that it is as if he was caressing where her nerves were. She tries her best to stay still, but she finds herself making weird sounds. Kyugi then compliments her ears and says he likes how pointy they are and that her earlobes are very soft. Kanan is left in a state of euphoria by all that was going on, and she felt like she was going to explode when Kyugi started blowing into her ears. He then asks her how it was, but she tells him that she didn't feel anything. Kyugi is shocked at her response and tells her that he's going to be very thorough while cleaning the second ear. While he is at it, Masurao is seen walking down the hallway to the public moral committee room, and she overhears Kyugi and Kanan. She mistook their conversation for something else and was left frozen. Kanan is seen complaining about the weather being very hot. Meanwhile, beside her is her maid in a bathtub, dressed in a swimsuit. The maid tells Kanan to come and join her, telling her that it is very comfortable in the tub. Kanan declines, saying that while it is nice, she would never be seen in that type of vulgar outfits. Just then, Kyugi enters the room and catches sight of the maid dressed in the swimsuit in the bathtub. The maid then asks him if he wants to play with her. Kanan tries to call Kyugi to look at her, but Kyugi can't seem to get his eyes off the maid in the swimsuit. Kanan then gets jealous and puts on a swimsuit too, and tells Kyugi to look at her, and he does this time. She then gets into the tub and Kyugi keeps staring at her. She claims that it is as if she is being touched by many hands all over her body. She then hits Kyugi in the eyes, calling him a pervert, much to the surprise of the maid, and tells him to leave the room. As Kyugi gets up to leave, he slips and falls back into the tub and gets his head stuck in Kanan's swimsuit. After struggling for a while, he manages to get unstuck, and Kanan asks him if this is some sort of manga. Kanan then gets out of the tub, attempting to leave, and she also slips and falls back into the tub, landing on Kyugi in a very promising position. Kyugi tries to talk, but Kanan tells him to keep quiet. The maid then takes a picture of them together and asks if this is some sort of manga. Kanan's maid, whose name was Ami, decided to take it upon herself to make sure that Kanan and Kyugi become an item, since they haven't been able to get together even after going on a date. She decides to use the physical contact method, the one that makes both Kyugi and Kanan come in close contact with each other. She begins by sending out a dog to the duo while they are on the street. She promised the dog a piece of meat if it gave them a spook. The dog does what was required of it and maybe overdid it as it bites Kyugi in the butt. This caused a contact between Kyugi and Kanan all right, but not for long, as the bite made Kyugi scream in pain. Ami decides to use another method which involves bumping into them. This method also works as Kanan clings closely to Kyugi's hands. But it reminds Kanan of the time she went out on a date with Kyugi without a bra, and this left her in a bit of a trauma. Ami tries several other methods, but all to no avail. They always come in close contact, but they don't act on it. She then decides to use a show of force. She picks up a bed and covers them both with it. Kyugi tries to use his strength to not lie directly on Kanan, but Ami appears to be stronger than him. She pushes on the bed till Kyugi's nose touches Kanan's own. Kanan then uses her horn to strike Ami, piercing through the bed. Ami then reveals to them that she has been trying to make them get physical for a while, and Kanan says she noticed that something had been off for a while. Kyugi then says that he hopes this doesn't awaken anything in him, and Kanan tells him to keep quiet. Kyugi enters a room and finds Kanan sleeping. He says to himself that she is so cute and defenseless when she sleeps. Turns out that Kanan was only pretending to be asleep. She is trying to prove to Ami that she has a charm which she says will come to life when she shows any opening. Kyugi then takes off his shirt. Kanan thought he had lost control of himself, but was left stunned when Kyugi covered her up with the shirt. She then turns around, revealing some parts of her body whilst pretending to be asleep. Kyugi notices this and starts to do some exercise to get his mind off them. Kanan keeps changing positions, and Kyugi continues with the exercises. He says to himself that he has reached his limits and can't go on. Just then, Kanan also loses hope and starts to think that she doesn't have charm since Kyugi won't touch her even after all she has done. She then notices a poke on her face, and it turns out to be Kyugi. Kyugi regrets his actions and runs out of the room. Kanan's maid, Ami, enters the room and tries to make a joke that nothing even happened, but she sees Kanan gassed about what had happened. Ami then says that they are both hopeless. Kyugi and a female student called Nadeko are seen talking to Kanan. They try to convince her to help them study for the finals, and they finally get her to agree after they call her Kanan Sensei. Nadeko tells herself that since the first time she saw Kanan, she has been having some kind of feelings. She then puts her mind off it in a bid to focus on the teaching. Kanan asks what they need help studying, and Kyugi says arithmetic when he means mathematics. Nadeko says she'd also like to study mathematics. Kanan then gives them something to work on. Kyugi fails his work and Kanan doesn't hesitate to scold him. On the other hand, Nadeko gets her work and Kanan praises her for it. Nadeko says she feels a satisfaction in her chest, but still feels empty. She wanted to get the same response Kanan is giving Kyugi, but even when she fails her work on purpose, Kanan still explains to her gently and still scolds Kyugi even for the slightest reason. This goes on and on until Kyugi tells her that his brain is at limit. He then starts to call the numbers in a weird way, making Kanan shouts at him. Nadeko then calls the number the same way, but Kanan tells her gently that maybe she is tired. Nadeko then tells them that she also wants to be scolded by Kanan. Kanan and Kyugi are left perplexed by her statement. Tests are over, and Kyugi enters a room where Kanan and Ami are, and says all the things he can't wait to do over the holidays. Kanan then tells Kyugi that he seems really excited for the holidays, and asks if he is glad he's finally free from her. Kyugi then tells her that he wants to do all the things he mentioned with her. Ami reminds Kanan that the master told her to come home, and Kyugi says that it means they won't be able to see each other much. He then suggests that he goes with them. Kanan says it is a possibility and gives reasons why he shouldn't, but at the end accepts much to the dismay of Ami. Kyugi then says that he can't wait for summer to start. Ami then asks Kanan if she is sure about inviting a human to the demon realm, but Kanan misread the question and says it's true and asks what she should do, as she's never invited anyone to her house. Later in the class, the teacher brings a newly transferred student to the class and is about to introduce her when the student sees Kyugi. She tries to move towards him, but she trips and falls. She then tells Kyugi that he is safe as she will protect him. The new student, whose name turns out to be Jean, is taken to the school clinic by Kyugi. The nurse asks Kyugi what is wrong with Jean, and he tells the nurse that she just started to talk about demons, and the teacher asked him to bring her. Jean then says that she is from heaven and she was sent to protect Kyugi from demons. The nurse then writes a note to Kyugi telling him to just play along. Jean then tells Kyugi to lay on the bed while she performs the ritual. During this process, Kanan overhears them from the hallway and goes in to find Jean on top of Kyugi. She mistakes the ritual for something else and picks up a pair of scissors, claiming that she will cut something off Kyugi. Kyugi runs towards her, and she notices that he is scared. Meanwhile, Jean has passed out already, and Kanan asks Kyugi who she is. Kyugi says that he has no idea, and the nurse tells them that she passed out because she is starving. While Jean aggressively devours the food put in front of her, Kanan questions if her demonic soul farm project has been discovered in heaven, but gets reassured when Jean calls her an angel. Kanan then asks why she's been following Kyugi all around, and she says she was ordered from heaven to protect him. She reveals that she is not an angel, but has a mark on her belly to prove that she is from heaven. Even though Kanan tells her not to show them, she proceeds to show them the mark. Kyugi then asks if both ladies are into cosplay, and Kanan is surprised that he still thinks she is into cosplay. Jean then hugs Kyugi so that his face is directly on her chest. Kanan then angrily says that Kyugi is hers and she won't let Jean have him. With that said, Jean is surprised at the statement and asks what she meant by that. Kanan tries to explain what she meant, and she gets worried that her cover has been blown. Jean then says that it seems Kanan is in love with Kyugi. Kanan then asks her if she knows what a demon looks like, and Jean brings out a picture. Funny enough, the picture of the demon is Kanan, and she has just realized. She then jolts towards Kyugi and tries to protect him from Kanan. Thanks for diving into the manga mayhem with us today. If the recap tickled your manga taste buds, obliterate that like button, subscribe for your weekly manga fix, and ring the bell for a notification extravaganza.